a lot of people probably want to fight me on that, and that's fair, but that's just my opinion. Again,
It is time once again for the main story quest, where the Trinity Bros give you their MMO opinions.
That's right. We're going to give you our MMO opinions because that's what we do here. The main story quest this week is all about E3.
Yay.
So we're going to caveat this for a couple of things, okay? So you go into this E3 thing is one, this is not about E3 itself. The Monday, Tuesday stuff that was online is actually part of the convention itself going on. You know, the panels they did, whatnot, which also, by the way, included Nintendo Direct, which I did not watch, so we're not bringing that one up, okay? We are talking about the E3 stuff that happened before that, where it started Thursday with a Summer Game Fest with Jeff Kiley, to Friday when he had a Summer of Gaming with IGN, to Saturday with the Ubisoft Forward, as well as Gearbox, and then Sunday with Xbox, Bethesda, oh my gosh, Square Enix, PC Gaming Show, and then the Future Game Show. So, and because this is an MMO show, we're going to focus on MMOs, which basically I think turned into like a handful of games. So unless I miss something somewhere, I'm looking to my game masters here. These guys are more expert than I am. So we're type of this case. So we'll start off with the very first thing that was the Jeff Kiley thing. Of course, I love how the fact that he has this surprise guest. And you're like, really, Jeff? You've always had Kojima on. Okay. And he's calling in from Japan. You had it pre-recorded, dude. I don't know what to say about that, okay? I just I don't mind it. I mean, that's okay, right? But it's the way he hyped it up, okay? But anyways, in the first show, you run along, all of a sudden, hey, there's this thing called New World. Okay, well, I'll be planning on getting that game, so it was one of the MMOs showed. But the first thing they did was, and you mentioned it on your, but you're not seeing it, guys. You got to go to Coffee RPG YouTube channel. Okay, he did a thing about Lost Ark. You know, apparently listening to the Massively OP podcast, this game was really talked about porting over in, I think, 2014. So it's been a while, but Lost Ark, a Korean game, is being localized and being imported into the West, and Amazon Games is going to be publishing it. So Smilegate is the other company involved with this. It's supposed to come out in fall of 2021. So sign up now for the Play Lost Ark for the beta. You know, just go to playlostark.com and you can do it.
31.
What's that?
December 31.
It is December 31.
It's been pushed back.
Not fall. Oh, this one you mentioned.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
they said that on E3, but it's been pushed back.
Okay, no, in fact, that's good to know. December 31, which doesn't mean anything. Whenever you put a date down, December 31st, that just means that, well, never mind. All right, so Lost Ark, I want to get your guys' opinion about this thing. I know you mentioned Blue Protocol, and I know I talked to my son one time. It's basically when it comes to the imports of Korean games, don't seem to always do well in the States. Somehow the import and localization doesn't work out well. I mean, I don't know where Tryon World had that game with all of the land you can buy, and if it ran out. Arcade, thank you. Was that a Korean import?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
XL Games, Chicksong.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Lost Ark looks pretty. It looks very nice. It has an interesting play style and everything about it, so it piques my interest. Is why I signed up for the beta. So, SirJahzeal, what do you think about the Lost Ark that's coming out?
I got a chance to play it. However, it was early last year.
Okay.
And I think it's one of the games that I have said in the past I may or may not have done it through a VPN. Because like technically
Right.
North America and Canada we're not supposed to be able to get on there.
I'm calling the police on you.
And I had no idea because it's in their language, and I just don't speak. That's not my thing. English, Spanish, and Irish Gaelic. That's and a little bit of German, but but man, it's fun, man. It is super fun. Lost Ark, for those of you who have seen it, I know I've shown it a couple times, those little snippets on my stream. Everybody thinks, oh, it's another ARPG thing. And I'm like, no, it's isometric. It is isometric, but it is an MMO, and people don't believe me. But yes, it is. It's an isometric MMO, which, as far as I know, hasn't really been done like this before. And it was a beautiful game, graphically, music, everything. I can't tell you much about the questing and whatnot because I just don't. I don't know Korean. I wish I did. It probably would make it easier. My neighbors here, but man, I am really looking forward to getting my hands on it here and seeing what the quests were all about. I can actually read English some of the time. Sometimes I question that even. Now, as far as things not translating well here in the West, yeah, that has been the case. But you almost have to do it game by game because there have been different reasons for each of them. I mean, when you really dig deep into it and try to figure it out, and sometimes it's just, here in the West, we tend to not want pay to win kind of mechanics put into a game, which most Asian games have, no matter if they come from Japan or China or South Korea. It doesn't seem to matter. They seem to love their loot boxes. They seem to love their transmog purchases from the shop. They seem to love being able to upgrade your character through those kind of means, being able to pay to better your character. That's the way that they make their money. And they seem to have, Solomons calls them whales, and that is the term that most people use. I think it's a little mean, but it's true. It's true that these people there's no end to their pocketbooks. And I'd love to find out what they do to earn their money because I can't do that. And I know most of us over here in the West can't do that. We have so much money. We have a month, and 3/4 of that at least goes to utilities and whatnot. And that has been a problem. Has been a huge, huge problem. People would way rather, if you're going to bring an MMO over here, people would way rather pay their $15 a month and have the whole game opened up to them. And if you want to put transmogs into the shop or whatever, people are okay with that. But the pay to win stuff has to go. And we were just recently talking about the stuff that was going on with New World, for instance, what they were going to do with their shop and all the hubbub that happened with that. You can see how that went over. That floated like a lead weight. I mean, people were like, "Okay, I'm done. Cancel my pre-order. Where I'm not doing that." And so, if the game in its current state, there are pay-to-win features in the game over there. So if it comes over here with those, it probably won't do exceedingly well.
Right. What about you, Solomon? What are your thoughts on Lost Ark? I know you gave some thoughts on your YouTube channel, but what about here?
I think it is going to be. Where do I even start? So two things, because I think you briefly mentioned about Eastern games being ported over here to the West. I think MMORPGs is a genre that is unique by far compared to any other genre in the market because of the fact that it was pretty much a genre that put subscription type of I guess a payment system on the map.
Yeah.
We still use it today. It's morphed to hybrids now with various games out there. And so therefore, will Lost Ark be successful in the United States or the Western Shores because of all the past failed Eastern MMOs that didn't really click with us? Well, I think you also have to look at the fact that there's been a lot of Western MMOs that didn't succeed either. And it's just a matter of perspective, I guess, or even various fallacies. Maybe it's a or what do you call it? Oh, I'm forgetting my terminology. But anyways, you basically MMOs in general have failed more so than a lot of other games, in my opinion, just because, again, of the cost that it is required to have those games run. Whereas other games, you just buy a copy, you play it, and you're done, and that's it. There's no upkeep for it, like servers and
Right.
whatnot. Um, so therefore, yeah, I could give you a list of all the Eastern MMORPGs that came to the West that failed, but I mean, there's a lot of Western developed MMOs RPGs that didn't make it either. As you mentioned earlier, City of Heroes and City of Villains. Well, you might say, oh, well, NCSoft made that, but that game never made it to the East. That was actually solely for the Western market. You also had games like Tabula Rasa. Again, same thing, NCSoft, but that game was solely made for the Western market.
Right.
Star Wars Galaxies, and so there's a lot of them out there. So with that being said, can Arc-Age still be a very successful game here in the States? And I think I look at Path of Exile and see how I get that Path of Exile isn't tactically an MMORPG, although it kind of uh it lies between the blurred lines between a
Right.
multiplayer RPG and an MMO. It's kind of in between there. I would actually consider Path of Exile more so an MMORPG than Destiny 2. I know a lot of people
Oh
would like
yeah.
to. I like to. A lot of people probably want to fight me on that, and that's fair. But that's just my opinion. Again,
I got your
um, thanks. But yeah, given the fact that Path of Exile is a wildly popular game right now, and I think it has to do with the fact that it is an isometric RPG with online elements to it, and it's a beautiful looking game too.
Oh yeah.
So if you were to give Lost Ark a fair comparison to any other game, I would compare it to Path of Exiles for sure. Um, and so I think there is definitely a market for that type of game. I think a lot of people who are fans of MMORPGs are looking for something a little different, especially with a third person camera view. I don't think if Arc or Arcade, yeah, I said Arcade. I meant Lost Ark. If Arcade came out as a normal MMORPG with a third person camera, I would have my doubts. I think it would have been one of those MMOs that would have came and gone like many other Eastern MMORPGs have done so in these past few years. Astelia Online is probably the biggest one. Lots of hype.
Lineage.
Yeah, Did you say Lineage?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Lineage too. Now
Mhm.
that's why they're all moving on over to the mobile platform. so,
Right.
so yeah, I think that of in itself, because they're trying to take chances, which I definitely do support, and they're trying to do something different again, which I do support. I think that's why it's wildly popular in places like South Korea and Japan and even Russia, just because it's going against the status quo. And so, yeah, will it be a WoW killer? Probably not. Will it be a Final Fantasy 14 Reborn killer? Probably not. But I still think it could carve out a pretty good niche
Right.
like some of these other MMORPGs does. Like, but for example, Black Desert Online, it's not going to be as popular as WoW, no matter how much some people may wish that. But it still has a sizable population and a sizable popularity here in the States, where people do pay attention to that MMORPG, and a list of other ones. So again, I think with that being said, because people are looking for something different, I think that's probably where the hype is coming from.
Nope, I agree with that. Yeah, that's why it
Um.
looks very beautiful too. What?
Before we go to Ken, I posted in our private chat there, but is it confirmed that it's free to play in the
Yeah,
West?
it's free to play. It's free to play.
Okay. Okay.
It's one of yeah.
I would say that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't sure, so I wanted to ask Solomon. Um, and that's what kind of puts me off about it, because you hear that and you just automatically think, oh no, yeah, let me look at the shop before I download this and install it and get invested in it, and then it's like all of a sudden this pop up. $29.99 and you can buy the
Yeah, but I say it's free to play, so you can try it out, and you can always just cancel. So yeah.
That's true. That's true.
So
They
those
do
are
have the founders package though. The cheapest one is like
That's right.
$20, and the most expensive one is $100. I already bought one of them. I'm not going to tell you which one, but I already pre-ordered it.
Oh boy.
So those New World and Lost Ark are the only two things I saw that I thought in the Summer Game Festival with Jeff Kiley. Okay, unless I missed something. I mean, Dungeons and Dragons, Dark Alliance, is that the MMORPG? That's the D&D one. That's the. I'm not sure.
That's single
Okay.
player.
Okay.
Or
And then
I
going
think it's
to
co-op actually.
going to
Sorry.
Summer of Gaming, there wasn't anything in there either. It seemed like a lot of it was just a lot could be some multiplayer type games. Don't get me wrong with that, okay? And you can play with friends. In other words, like a survival RPG like Chernobyl Bite. Sorry, but nothing really there that I stuck out as being a MMO. You go to Ubisoft Forward. Ubisoft doesn't really have MMOs per se. I mean, I say that per se because there are some games that are multiplayer, but they're not necessarily that. I mean, you can I think it, so. There's not the Avatar Frontiers, the game that Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. I don't think anyone was asking for. It's an open world game, but I don't think it's going to be an MMO.
Wait, based on the movie Avatar?
Yes, it is. It looks
Why?
beautiful.
Why now?
Because the Avatar 2 is coming out at some point. I think
they're still
Yeah.
making that?
oh yeah,
They're gonna make several.
Yes. The idea they were Disney was spacing out that every other year in December would be an Avatar movie, and the following years would
cow.
be some kind of Star Wars movie. Okay, but
Wasn't there 8 or 9 that they were planning
that
on
was
making at some
COVID.
point?
I thought it was like
Wow.
at least 3, but anyways,
Yeah.
COVID
Definitely
kind of messed up
spacing
with that a little bit, but they're still doing that. Gearbox, because doesn't have anything there, and then comes the Xbox Bethesda one. Now you can argue whether or not Fallout 76 is an MMORPG. I mean, after all, it's only 26 on the server, so I don't think it is. But the fact that so many people can play together, at some point, you're really not going to raid with more than that, anyways. It could be like that. Anyways, they had some expansions coming out, Steel Rain and The Pit. The Pit is a 2022 one. Apparently, it harkens back to people who did The Pit in some older versions of the game. I don't know that. They did mention ESO, obviously, because Blackwood, as well as the next. ESO has this roadmap for the rest of the year, and what their plans on all the different expansion is Blackwood, but they're having different patches, and they've already named them, and what's how to tell the story going forward. So you have that. Halo Infinite, of course, is not a massive multi-online, but it has a multiplayer aspect to it, and I'm going to mention it again because I'm planning on playing it. Just considering that my daughter helped do the artwork in the multiplayer universe, and so in one particular area she did a bunch of the artwork, so that's kind of fun. And then the what I thought was interesting, I don't know, you can't call it MMORPG, okay? Forza Horizon 4, the latest one coming out November 9th, you're set in, it's a beautiful landscape of Mexico. And you can play with your friends. I mean, you can jump in with other players. You can play like your team versus another team. And it's like, I don't know if I would call it like that's probably more like, I think of more an advanced version of like Rocket League. But I find it interesting the fact that, we talked about before in some previous shows about blurring the lines of MMOs. What is massively, right? And then, of course, multiplayer is pretty universal. And RPG, of course, is role-playing games. I mean, you could probably role-play Forza, but, I thought that was interesting. But, so of what I mentioned so far, anything you guys want to bring up before we get to Square Enix?
I'm still kind of disappointed. I really wish that 76 would do something, because again, we've gone over this. It probably makes people tune out every time that you, Kennethan, that you and I bring it up, but we were really expecting Fallout, the MMO, and it just didn't deliver that experience. Now, right. I will give it that I have not played even was it Wastelanders was the last one, right? Or
it might have been. I'm not sure.
I can't remember. I didn't come back for that. I heard it was amazing, and I hear what we saw on there. It looks great, but it's still, I was kind of waiting for them to go, and now up to 200 players or something like that. And nope, it's still limited. So I'm still waiting for a Fallout MMO because I think that would be amazing. But if I did want to, even though Forza isn't an MMO, I have played Forza in the past on the well, it's technically my son's Xbox. I bought it for him, but I played it on there, and it's super fun, and it's got great graphics, and it's one of the better auto games. But the thing is, dude, they put out new stuff every month, and it costs. Talk about whales. You've got to have deep pockets to keep up with that game. I know Grid 21 plays it once in a while in his streams. He's been like, "Oh, come play with me," and I'm like, "I don't have that much money, dude." Um, but yeah, I again, really when they were mentioning there's new stuff coming out for 76 Fallout 76. I was Man, I was crossing my fingers. Please say something about you're increasing how many people can be on a server. Please give us more content. They are giving us more content, but they're still not bringing it any closer to an MMO. You know,
Yeah.
the massive leap part.
Yeah. Solomon, you have
But
anything you want to add to
someday,
Square Enix?
No, no.
Because I mean, Solomon's expression is like mine too, because there wasn't a lot of MMO stuff. I mean, this wasn't necessarily E3 isn't necessarily the MMO place. Man, you got to go back to history. Okay, the Electronic Software Association hosts this electronic entertainment expo every year because you want to get the devs and the game companies in front of the media and the buyers to get ready for the Christmas rush. It's changed over the years. It used to be no fans would ever be involved, or sorry, never invited. But a couple of years ago, they first allowed for fans now to come in because they always have game stations to play the games. But because basically the devs want the media and the buyers to find out what they want. And so these are the games that are going to sell the most. Right? Obviously, consoles are big right now, particularly with Xbox and PlayStation, the new versions in the Switch. So there's a bunch of stuff there happening. PlayStation was not at E3 this year. Xbox clearly was, so was Nintendo. And that's why you don't see like MMOs. Yeah, MMOs have been ported over to a console, so you see that, but that's why I'm one of I guess I should be expecting of this, but kind of sad because an example is Square Enix. Square Enix, of course, talked about a lot about their, hey, we have Guardians of the Galaxy, we have Avengers, and we have Final Fantasy. By the way, we're redoing Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Yay! And it's like, okay, you do have an MMO game, right? Nothing. But at the end trailer, when they're going a compilation of going over their show and everything else, you're watching and going, you had to pause it, you got to go backwards because you realize they showed Final Fantasy XVI. Didn't talk about 16 at all, and yet it was there. And then following up was Final Fantasy 14 Endwalkers. Now, mind you, they already had their Final Fantasy thing earlier, like a month or so before. And so we already saw what's coming to happen with Endwalkers. So they had his own little thing. So I get that, but it's like, no real mention about Final Fantasy 16 of 14. Okay. And then came the final ones, the shows being the PC gaming show and the feature gaming show. And you do get Eve. Okay, yeah, it's like about niche games, very much a niche game. But now I have a thing called Eve Academy because there is that steep learning curve in Eve, and so trying to help with that. So that was interesting. They did that. Again, if it wasn't mentioned, but if you go to the like I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the show, you go to Steam Summer Game Fest, right? There is the Swords of Legends Online has a free Steam demo right now. So you can try that out. But then after that, I mean, there wasn't anything else MMO wise that I saw for the rest of the show. I'm like, okay, fine. A lot of cool stuff you can do. I mean, Enlisted, they kind of mentioned Enlisted, which is a World War II type of sim, and it is a MMO. I mean, I don't know what you call it, RPG. I mean, how do you role playing? I guess you could role play if you wanted to. Not quite the same thing quest wise. It's like all other games, like Battlefront 2 with Star Wars. You go in, you shoot, you kill, you level up, and whatever. So I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts about everything Square Enix and on for MMO stuff? Solomon, go you first.
Ditto.
Yeah, ditto. SirJahzeal, your thoughts?
I wondered two things. Were they going to say something about 16?
I don't know.
And
It
then
must have
they
been.
said, no, hold off on that, dude. We don't have enough to give them yet. Let's just. But what about the trailer? Oh, just leave that in there. The smart ones will catch it and they'll go, and it'll ignite their interest and get them talking, but don't say anything about it. Or was that they're what they were going to do all along, that they wanted to give us just a little M&M like Elliot did with ET, just that one little M&M just to get you talking about it, because I'm like, there's no way they would have put that in a trailer and not said anything.
No, I agree. It must have been.
I
right.
didn't expect them, because they had just done a show. Didn't expect them to say terribly much, and Endwalkers is getting plastered all over the place right now, so they didn't really need to go into detail at this particular show, because, like I said, it's everywhere right now. But it would have been nice to have something special for the show, just for people watching the show this weekend. Here's a little snippet of the changes we're making, or a new system we're adding, or something like that, or new mounts, or something. But you know what? I was happy. I know these aren't MMOs, but I love Final Fantasy, the series. I played, well, I think technically 1 through 11 are the ones that I played. 11 being the first MMO. And 7 is like my ultimate favorite, which they just remade recently. And it was fantastic, by the way. And I'm looking forward to playing 1 through 6 again. But whenever I heard you on the other side, on the other side of the conversation when we were watching it, go, okay, yay. I understand. It just, that was the show, though. There was a lot of stuff just being remade, stuff just being re-released, with remastered graphics and sound, or whatever kind of stuff. And games that are new, but they look heavily influenced by another more popular game. That just seemed to be E3 this year. And so at that point that we saw the Square Enix segment, it wasn't shocking me anymore. And I think that's when I started getting tired and went to take my nap, wasn't it?
I don't know.
So I'll end it with that.
Yeah. But anyways, for watching on YouTube or here on Twitch, whatever your thoughts you have on E3, let us know. Wait to hear from you. Check out the further adventures of Kennethan by liking and subscribing and watching me live on twitch.tv/Kennethan.